Hi everyone! So today I'm going to be talking about my favourite fictional romances slash my favourite fictional couples, whatever way you want to say it. So there's a couple things to kind of say before I get right into this video. Number one is this was actually way harder than I thought it would be. I was like, it's coming up to Valentine's Day, I'll do this, it's a nice, fun, quick video. And I was like, I'll pick 10 books. And that was way harder than I thought it would be. Like, there was probably like 5 or 6 that I was like, okay, definitely. And then like the other 4-ish are kind of like, yeah, I like them. I'm not the biggest for romance in books, but I'm never going to give out if it's there unless it's like really bad. Then I will. I do definitely prefer things like, kind of family dynamics and friendships when it comes to books, or more importantly, just the characters themselves. If like the characters are really good, then I will like the books. Whereas like the relationships involved, they don't bother me as much. And number 2 is there is a severe lack of LGBTQ plus romances on this list, especially female romances. And like while I was looking at it, there's like 3 books ever I've read where like female characters have been like the main characters. And then like maybe 2 others where they were like background characters. That's not great. And like the 3 that I've read where they're main characters were all like contemporaries or romances. And I'm like, please recommend me some like fantasy books that are like obviously really great fantasies, but like have like maybe like a background plot of like female romance. So with that out of the way, let's get into this. One of the first couples that I thought about when I was going to make this was basically every couple from the Infernal Devices, except for one. There's one couple in here that I really don't care about, but like Charlotte, Henry, Sophie, Gideon, and then obviously our love triangle, which is the best love triangle of all time. I absolutely adore all of these characters and I like their relationships. As you can see, absolutely battered. It's my favourite series of all time. It just has such a special place in my heart because I've been reading them since I was like, I don't know, 13. We're gonna guess 13, but I'm not sure is that right. This series follows Tessa Gray in Victorian London, and she discovers that she has shape-shifting powers and she gets involved in Shadowhunters. And then as she is drawn deeper into the world, she discovers two Parvati, and she's drawn to both of them. And as I said, best love triangle ever. I absolutely adore them. When I first read this, I remember being like, Will Herondale is the best. Jem who? And definitely every time I read it, like Will always has a special place in my heart, but I know if I read this for the first time now, I would be like, Will. I'd be like, Jem please. But because I read it when I was younger, Will, like that all like sarcastic, brooding kind of character, I definitely loved that. I've grown out of it. I definitely prefer kind of like the sweet cinnamon roll like Jem, but Will definitely has such a special place in my heart, so I will always love him. But every time I reread this story, I love Jem and Tessa's relationship even more. So all in all, I don't pick a favorite between Jem and Will. I just love them both so much. They're so wonderful. Like, not even just the main romance, I also love 2 of the side romances in here. So yeah, I just absolutely adore all of these characters and their romances. And this is definitely like the first book where I realized, oh, I am a bit of a softie for romance, aren't I? I just have like a pile of books right here, so I don't know which one I want to talk about next. We'll go with Percy Jackson. So I'm talking about Percy and Annabeth. Again, this is one that I think everyone knows what couple it is. So I absolutely adored it. It's like their journey together, because like they started out as like kind of reluctant allies and then friends, and then they like have crushes on each other, and then oh, they're so cute. And I just really love that. And I need to read The Heroes of Olympus because I'm sure there's going to be more of Percy and Annabeth in that. The second or third book, I can't remember. But Percy meets Aphrodite and she kind of appears as anyone you kind of love / have a crush on. And like for Percy, she appears as like a mix of his childhood crush and Annabeth. And he's just there and he's like, oh look, she kind of looks like my best friend Annabeth. And I'm like, you were an idiot. They were so cute. And it's like 5 books leading just to like one moment between them, and I loved it. It was so adorable. Percy Jackson series, it follows a young boy called Percy Jackson. When the series starts, Percy is 12 years old and he is having a lot of trouble in school, and one day he accidentally vaporizes his algebra teacher and discovers that he is a demigod. So then he goes to Camp Half-Blood and he's accused of stealing Zeus's lightning bolt, and he has to go and try and find it to clear his name. And yeah, and he goes on it with a couple friends, so Grover and Annabeth, and that is the start of it all, and they're just really adorable. This video is just gonna be me being like, oh, they're so cute, aren't they? Next one that I'm going to talk about is Heartstopper. So this is, honestly, all of the romances in here are just absolutely adorable. They're all really cute and they're all very different. So we have a male-male romance. I have like two side romances. So there's Tara and Darcy. Yeah, so there's Tara and Darcy, and then there's Teo and Elle. So all of them are just absolutely adorable. So in this we follow two boys, Nick and Charlie. Nick has always assumed that he was straight and Nick is openly gay, and they become friends when Charlie joins the rugby team, and then Nick kind of starts to question his sexuality because he thinks he might have feelings for Charlie, and it's just a really cute story. The first volume is them becoming friends and then kind of being like, hey, I kind of like you. Volume 2 just kind of follows the start of their relationship, and then in volume 3 they're going on a school trip with all of their friends, and Nick is trying to come out to people, and Charlie is also dealing with his own mental health issues, and you just see them like helping each other out and being there for each other, and it's really cute, and I would definitely recommend because there's just like some really just beautiful illustrations, and they're just like so derpy sometimes. They're just absolutely adorable. So then the next one I'm going to talk about is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, or just the whole Shades of Magic series in general. There is kind of two main couples, I suppose, in here. And I love both of them. So this follows Kel, who is an Antari, which is a blood magician, and he's one of the last of his kind, so that means he can travel through the different Londons. So there is Grey London, which is our London, which has no magic. There is Red London, which is his London, which is prospering. There is White London, which is kind of becoming corrupted by magic, and their magic doesn't really work anymore. And then there's Black London, which is dead. So one day Kel gets caught with something that he shouldn't have, and then he kind of flees to Grey London, and he runs into Lila Bard, who picks his pocket, and that is the start of their adventure together. And this story, it is not romance focused. Like, there's a lot more going on, you know, they're trying to save their world and all of this, so it's definitely not focused on just on the romance. There's definitely more to it. And both of the romances, the other one is in the second book and the third book. They're not really focused on that. That is not the primary focus. They have other problems, but I do really enjoy it, and I think that the characters, they all have really great chemistry together, and they definitely really complement each other, and they kind of bring out the best. So Kel is basically Lila's impulse control, and then Lila also kind of brings out the wild side in Kel, and together they just like balance each other out really well. In the second book, they're not together for like the first half of the book, and just the anticipation, because you know it's coming, just like the build up to them meeting again is just impeccable. It's just chef's kiss. I love it. And I liked it the first time I read it, but the second time I read it, I was like, oh my god, yes. Because they're just thinking about each other the whole time. They're just pining, and they don't realize it. So the next one I'm going to talk about is going to be the one where I'm actually not going to mention who it is. So this is going to be a really quick one, and that is, there is a couple in Truth Witch, which I absolutely adore. They are pretty high on the list. This list is in no particular order, but oh my god, this couple is definitely really high up on the list. Just getting to the romance. Like, even now, the romance has barely started between them, and we're like 3 books in, but oh my god, the tension, the chemistry between them, the couple in here. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, even in the first book, that there's something that's gonna happen, but just in case you read this and you don't guess that, I'm not gonna say the name. I'll say that it's enemies to lovers. So it's like enemies to allies to lovers. They live in my mind rent-free. So this story is set in the Witchlands, and there are all of these different types of magic, And Safi has one of these really rare abilities which she can tell when someone is telling the truth or when they're lying to her. It is a pretty powerful gift because, especially in a world like theirs where a truce seems to be coming to an end, a lot of people in political power would kill to have a truth witch by their side, and so she kind of tries to hide her ability. Her best friend Isolde is a thread witch, and the two of them just want to kind of get out of the place where they're living, and so they're kind of saving up money, and then when they try to rob a caravan to get some money back, they end up attracting the attention of a blood witch, and he knows that Safi is a truth witch, and so the two of them have to go on the run. Definitely one of my favorites, even though only one book in the series has been a 5-star. The other 3 have been 4 stars, but I think the next book, so Witch Shadow, is coming out in June, and I think it's going to be absolutely incredible. So next, I'm actually going to talk about an actual romance couple. This is Michael and Stella from The Kiss Quotient. So The Kiss Quotient follows Stella, who her life revolves around numbers. She's great with them and they're easy to understand. She's also autistic and she struggles in the romance department. And so she decides the only way to get better at this is to get practice, and so she hires a male escort, Michael, to teach her how to be better at sex and all of that. And then obviously feelings develop, and oh my god, I just absolutely adore them. And just the pining between them, just, oh, so good. I really like when there's a lot of like angst and pining between a couple. What does that say about me? And I think that's why a lot of the books in this series, like their first kiss doesn't happen in the first book a lot, or they don't get together until like 2 or 3 books in, because I just love the longing for each other and like the tension between them. Obviously in a romance book you have to kind of get it done, but I thought it was so well done. It is kind of insta-lovey, but honestly I didn't mind because it just, because it was just so adorable and it melted my icy heart. Like, the two of them don't think they're good enough for the other, and just, they're just adorable. Next, I'm going to talk about Katie and Ezra from Illuminae. So this is set in the future, and Ezra and Katie have to flee their planet because it is attacked by this corporation, and they have only each other to rely on and to try and figure out why this is happening. And of course there's a couple of complications along the way, like one ship is traveling slower than it should, and then another complication being that they had just broken up earlier that day. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that they're gonna get back together by the end of it, so I don't think I'm spoiling it, but just the journey getting there is really lovely, and I think, and it's definitely something I want to try in actual romance to see if I like kind of like second chance romances, because I definitely liked, like, I know they had like only just broken up, but them kind of through like their hardship and all of this realize coming together, and then also just then discussing why what went wrong and all of this, and them kind of realizing where the problems in their relationship was, and I really enjoyed it. And I mean, obviously that wasn't the main reason why I enjoyed this book. I just adored both of these characters by themselves anyway. Actually, the banter was definitely a plus. This is definitely probably one of the funniest couples in here. Just like the way they bounce off of each other is really good. But obviously also just absolutely incredible plot in here is obviously a really good reason to read it. I know a lot of people prefer the couple in the second book, but I disagree. Then we're going to talk about the Raven cycle. So there's 2 main couples in here, and I adore both of them. I feel like I can't say it because it's spoilers, because they don't get together till like the 2nd or 3rd book, both of the couples. So like I feel like I can't say it. Also, I feel like everyone's read this book, so I definitely preferred the couple that Gansey is in because he is my favorite character ever, so I just want him to be happy, and so seeing him happy made me happy. So this is a story, it follows Blue, who is always told that if she kisses her true love, they will die, and so she kind of just avoids boys in her life, especially the Raven boys who go to this fancy private school, but that all changes one day when she ends up getting dragged into their business, and while they're trying to find a dead Welsh king. So the male-male romance in here, I think made so much sense. Like, I definitely didn't think that that was going to happen when I originally read it. I definitely didn't see it coming, but there was like so many hints about it, and just the way that they looked out for each other and they balanced each other out was really good. And then the male and female romance in here was just, it was kind of a bit of a slow burn because they just started out as friends, and just they could just kind of talk about anything to each other and the other would listen, and so that developed really nicely into a romantic relationship. So next I'm going to talk about The Bear and the Nightingale. So this is probably one of my least favorite on this list. Like, I like the couple in here, but it kind of took me a while to root for them. So the couple in here, again, I won't really say, but I think it's pretty obvious when you start reading what's going to happen. But it is a romance with like kind of like an ancient immortal being, and I'm not the biggest fan of that trope, but our main character in here, she definitely matures a lot in here, and that's why I think it took me a while to get behind it, because I could tell where this was going, and in the first book I was like, no. And then in the second book, like, she had grown so much, and I was like, oh, maybe, yeah. And so by the end of the second book, I was like, yeah, I can get behind it. And then by the third book, I was like 100% behind it. It took a while for me to get behind this couple, but when I did, I definitely could understand it. I don't really like that kind of power imbalance in relationships, but through the series, Basia shows herself that she is an equal to him. The love interest, he accepts that, and I think that's why I can get behind it. Last one that I'm going to talk about, again, is another book that has multiple amazing couples in here, and that is Six of Crows Duology. I will say, I don't understand why every single person in this book had to be paired off with someone. Like, you don't have to do that all the time. But also, all of the couples are adorable, so I'm not mad about it. This is another one, I think everyone knows what the couples are. So my favorite is definitely Kaz and Nej, even though my favorite character is Wylan. Wylan and Jesper is not my favorite couple. And when I actually read them the first time, I thought Wylan and Jesper came out of nowhere, and I was like, Leigh Bardugo is just doing this so she can pair them all off. But then when I read it through the second time, I was like, how did I not pick up on the hints? Like, it was so obvious that they were like crushing on each other, and I just completely missed it the first time. I was so oblivious. The second time I read the book, I definitely liked Wylan and Jesper more than I did the first time, and I definitely just like their banter is top notch, and like the teasing, like Jesper is always teasing Wylan, and then Nina and Matthias are another couple in here, and they're kind of second chance, and so they're kind of like enemies to lovers to enemies to lovers. And yeah, so definitely a lot of complicated feelings in there, but they're definitely handled really well. Nina is just like filled with guilt about what has happened to Matthias, and Matthias is just filled with so much anger towards Nina. Matthias is a little more reluctant, but eventually he's kind of like, damn it, I do like her. And lastly is Kaz and Nej, and they're definitely the most complicated relationship, because I guess they're not officially a relationship really, but I hope in book 3 that we will. These two characters, they both have a lot of trauma, and so it's very hard for them to be in a relationship. I just love them, and I want them both to be happy, and it's so clear that they like each other, but they have no idea how to go about it, and it's kind of heartbreaking when you think about it, and they deserve all of the happiness, and I really hope that they get it. That is all of my favorite fictional couples. This video was very rambly and very messy, so I'm very sorry about that. So that is all for now. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!